Right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Midday Muse. We are back, and today I have a wonderful special guest, Joy Dean, who's going to join us to talk about breastfeeding, the joys, the woes, the ups and downs of breastfeeding. I'm very excited, so I'm going to have her join right now.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Oh my, hi. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Welcome to Midday Muse.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm very excited to have this conversation. So today, Midday News, for those who are just joining us, this is a podcast where we just have deep conversations about the realities of life that we hope will inspire you as you pursue your purpose. My name is
Mhm.
Tanea. I am your host. I'm an entertainment and events manager, artist, business consultant, and this podcast is just to inspire people and just to talk about different topics that will just get you going throughout your day. So, one of the things that's near and dear to my heart is breastfeeding. I have two kids, they're 10 and 5. Both kids I breastfed for 2 years each. Both experiences were completely different. And I know that breastfeeding is not, well, it's coming up now, but especially when I first had my kids, breastfeeding is not something that everybody, you can't just turn to your left and you see someone who has experience with breastfeeding. So as we're coming into an age where we're wanting to go this route with having our kids, we're wanting less to use formula if we don't have to, or if that's not the choice you want to make, you want to decide to breastfeed. I wanted to make sure that we have a space where you can ask any questions, where we can discuss any anomalies, because no matter what anybody tells you, it is not for the faint of heart. It is something that you need support with. You need to be able to ask questions, and every experience is different. Not just every mother, but every baby is different. So I
Mhm.
definitely want to bring Joy on with her wealth of experience as a doula, as a breath coach. She has her own company, The Nesting Phase. And Joy's going to tell you a bit more about herself and get into the topics. So go ahead,
Okay.
Joy. Let us know who you are.
Okay. So yes, I am Joy. I am a birth worker, so a doula, childbirth educator, pregnancy health coach, lactation counselor, and I am also a student midwife. With all that said, I am a mom of 5. So like breastfeeding, oh my goodness, every baby is different. Every breastfeeding experience with my babies were different, and I had some ups and downs. And I had easy experience with my first. She tricked me. My first made me think that breastfeeding was super easy, and then I found out the truth with my other kids. So yeah, I really pull from a lot of my experience as mom, and having 5 kids, and how different it was. That's one thing people didn't tell me, that every birth, every, pregnancy, every baby is completely different. So I pull a lot from that experience to share my knowledge. But yeah, I'm hyped. Whatever questions you have, let's go. Let's go.
So tell us a bit more about your personal experience with breastfeeding.
Oh, okay. So like I said, with my first, she came out, I don't know, like God made her first for a reason, because she came out ready. And she's still like that. She came out like an expert, like she knew how to breastfeed. I didn't have to do really anything with her.
Mm.
Um, Even as she was growing up, when she was 1 years old, she was just so easy. Like, I'm like, go take a nap. It's time to take a nap. She would get up and walk to her bed and go take a nap. Like, that's the kind of child I had. So, I was in this delusion thinking that, every baby, every kid, I was like, oh my gosh, motherhood is so easy, breastfeeding is so easy, everything is so easy. I don't know what people talking about. And then I had my second. And when I had my second, that was very, very difficult. Um, she ended up having thrush, and thrush was and I didn't even know what thrush was. And when I went to the doctor, her tongue was completely white, and thrush is it's like a yeast infection in the baby's tongue. And so she gave it to me, on my nipple because she's breastfeeding from me, and we were just giving it back to each other, back and forth. And thrush is very hard to get rid of, especially if you don't nip it in the bud the moment it happens, right? And I went to the doctor and I was like, my baby's tongue is white. And either the doctor didn't know what they were talking about because they were basically saying, oh, that's normal. It's milk. And I'm like, no, this doesn't look like milk. This is different. It took 4 months of me advocating for me and my baby for them to say, oh, this is thrush. Right. And we were suffering, and it was so bad. And she just had a hard time breastfeeding because her mouth hurt. And I had a hard time breastfeeding because, my nipple, my breast, everything hurt. So they had to treat both of us at the same time. And it took about a couple of weeks for us to really be clear and be okay. So going from having this first baby where everything felt so easy to that, I was like, what in the world is this? Right? What is this? This is not fun. And I think my third child and my fourth, it was the experience of me knowing how to care for a baby to breastfeed helped me with them. They weren't as easy as my first. They weren't as hard as my second. I had less problems, but I know with my fourth, she was allergic to everything, so when I was breastfeeding her, she would throw up my milk.
Oh man.
And I mean projectile, not those little cute baby spit up where you're like, oh, look at that little cute baby, and you just, wipe their mouth. I'm talking about across, just coming out. She was breaking out very badly. And we had to do a test, and she was allergic to milk, eggs, fish, and nuts. And that was everything I was eating. So that was another learning experience because that was tough. I had to change my whole diet to make sure that she was okay, right? And then my fifth baby, preemie baby, my water broke at 31 weeks and he came at 32 weeks. And that was very difficult because when you have a preemie baby like that, your body does not respond. I know this for me. My body did not respond how my body did respond after I had my babies with my term babies. I knew I had a baby with my term babies. For some reason, having him, and it felt so early, my body was the signals were delayed. My milk came really, really late. I had to work really hard to get my milk to come through. And what I mean is I pumped, I hand expressed, I did everything I can. My breasts were so sore because I had to work my breasts, stimulate my breasts so much to get the milk through. The milk to come down. It was so painful. And it was also heartbreaking because he was in a NICU. So I had to do this away from him, and I couldn't even latch him on my breast because he was too young. And so that was very difficult and emotional for me. And I was only able to provide milk for him for his first 3 weeks of life. After that, my milk started to decrease because I think the stress of having a baby in a NICU and having to leave your baby in the hospital and go home, that's so unnatural that it was so hard for me to even pump and get the milk to come through because I was missing my baby so much, right? So I had so many different experiences with breastfeeding, and with my fifth not being able to completely breastfeed him, I felt a little guilty because I breastfed all my other children. And then I felt like I should have worked harder. I should have kept going. I should have gotten up every 2 hours in the middle of the night to pump. I should have pushed myself a little harder. I know it was hard, but I should have sucked it up That's
That
how I was
mom
talking.
guilt is something else, isn't it? That.
Oh, I
Oh
felt
goodness.
Yeah, like who, like your baby is in the NICU, and I'm over here basically cussing myself out for not.
Right.
I felt like it was already my fault that my baby was in the NICU. Like, what did I do wrong? What was wrong with me? What, and then I
Yeah.
was mad because as a childbirth educator, a doula, I'm like, how did I not know I was in preterm labor? Because my body I didn't recognize that feeling of being in preterm labor. I thought I was constipated
Mm-hmm.
because, this is a little too much information, but I didn't poop yet.
That's
So
what we're here
I was
for. All the information.
constipated. I haven't pooped. I'm constipated. And then I finally did poop, and then my water broke. So I did not recognize I was having preterm labor for a couple of days. And so having that, then my baby in the NICU, I was blaming myself so much,
Yeah.
not being able to keep my milk supply up. And I felt so guilty. And everybody was trying to help, but it did not feel like help to me. I was just like, shut up, my baby's not here. I don't care about no pumping. Like, I want my baby home.
Yeah.
So that was hard. And then at the hospital, the lactation consultant, I was there in the hospital for 3 days. I did not see that lactation consultant until an hour before discharge. And this is me talking to them every single day, like talking to the nurses and the doctors, like advocating for myself to get a lactation consultant in.
Mm-hmm.
And I never had one until an hour before discharge. And I have a NICU baby. This is the first time, like, this is different. I need some help. And no one helped me at the hospital the way I needed. But at that point, I was just like, I felt like I couldn't do it anyway. So I did the best I could do. And that was 3 weeks of keeping my milk up. And then I did not know how to increase it after it was decreasing, because he started eating more than what I was providing. And then I think that shattered, my heart. Like, I can't provide for my baby, right? I think that, and the stress, and then being at home. So mom guilt is a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah. With
I,
my first one, I
yeah.
was pumping like 20 ounces a day. You know,
Mhm.
I was a machine. I was going. I had milk in the freezer, just stocked up for, you needed, it was there. Full more food, more milk than food in the freezer. It
Right.
was just no problem. In the hospital, we didn't have any issues. When we came home though, um, that first night, after being in the hospital for like 3 days and her latching on and everything being fine, and then that first night I got home and she would not latch. And
Oh,
I was just like, what is wrong?
yeah.
What is wrong with me? Why wouldn't this work? Why now that I'm home, she won't latch on? And she had a bit of jaundice. So the
Okay.
doctors, before I left home, they were telling me she must eat every 2 hours in order to keep,
Yeah.
keep things okay for her. So we were coming up on an hour and 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes. And my mom had the container of formula, like, we could just give her this. And I'm like, no, I'm breastfeeding. That's it. Like, I'm not doing it. And I pushed to make sure that she was exclusively breastfed. She didn't have any formula. So after that first night, like after a few hours, she finally latched on, and then we were just rolling from there.
Mhm.
So it was great. With my second one though, things were very different as far as my life was concerned. My mom had actually just started to get sick. She had gone into the hospital right after I had her. And no, she had gone into the hospital right after I started work. So
Okay.
I was expecting to be able to pump at work, like with my last one, pump at work, and maintain the milk supply and just, go on as normal. But with the stress of going to see my mom, returning to work, and then things that were going on in the house, it was so much stress that I was not producing as much milk as
Yeah.
I needed to. And she started to lose weight. My younger one started to lose weight. The home care nurse kept threatening, like, you're going to have to give her formula. We're going to have to do this, and that. It came to a point where they wanted me to supplement formula, a bottle of formula in between nursing her. I was like, no. So I started to pump extra and gave her a bottle of pumped breast milk in between feeding her, just to I didn't want her to have formula. But it ended up coming to a point where I just couldn't keep up. Time was getting, I wasn't able to even pump at work because I was getting between working and getting to the hospital, and it just wasn't working out. And just the level of guilt from not being able to do what I intended to do as far as feeding my baby and taking care of her and making sure that she's healthy and doing everything, and just being so stressed. It was just that same, like, what have I done? You know, what what can I do better? How can I be better? Why didn't I do X, Y, and Z? But I mean, at the end of the day, she's fine. You know, I had to get over it. Like, I had to get over it, and she had to have formula because it was not working out. It was absolutely not working out. So what would you give your top 10 recommendations for a breastfeeding mom?
Oh, top 10 recommendations, like what things to do to make breastfeeding more smoother, easier, or what?
Yeah, or like smoother, for what you recommend to help them get other people in order to help them breastfeed better. Just anything.
Gotcha.
The whole
So
gamut.
number one, we are so hyped about creating birth plans.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget to create postpartum plans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how are we going to handle, or like, how are we going to get our house in order once the baby's here? You know, we want to get it done before the baby's here. But we are, like, our society is so focused on birth. But I'm like, the real work, let's be honest, like, the real work is really after the baby's here. Like, you have a lot of work to do, and it's every day, 24/7. You know, it doesn't stop. And if you don't set yourself up to have support, it can be very stressful, and it can be tiring, and it can be lonely, and that's almost like setting ourselves up for failure, and we don't want that. And what I mean is, we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So the postpartum plan is not to how are we going to take care of our baby? No, it's how are we going to have people supporting and taking care of us? Because if we're not okay, we can't do our job and take care of a baby. Like, you know, we can't. And it's doing way too much if we're over here only focusing on the baby and we have nobody focusing on us. So postpartum plans should always include people bringing you some food, or you know, there's food in the freezer and someone can put it in the oven for you and bring you food in the bed, right? Someone who can be there to make sure like little chores in the house can get done. If you have other little kids, like I have, you know, all these other little kids in the house, you know, someone to come in and take care of them, or take them outside of the house so you can have time for you. If you want someone to take your baby for a little bit so you can take care of yourself, shower, brush your teeth, whatever you need to do, then like that should be in your postpartum plan. But people don't think about that. People just have the baby, go home, and then, you know, if you don't have friends or even a support system like family, then you're there left all by yourself, and then like, oh, this is hard, especially when you have more than one kid. And so that's one thing I want to say is creating a support team and creating a postpartum plan for yourself. Yes, self-care is everything.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. It's so true. And so yeah, self-care is number one. The other thing is reducing as much stress as possible, because in both of our stories, we both said stress. Stress reduced our production of milk, and stress actually it stopped me from doing what I needed to do, or
Yeah.
what I felt like I wanted to do at the moment. I had to make a choice, and so if you are breastfeeding, try to reduce as much stress as possible. And if you have to go back to work, here are some tips. Grab one of your baby's blankets to bring with you so you can smell it, you
Yes,
know?
absolutely. You need to have that to induce this. What's oxytocin?
Yeah, so
Yes.
yeah, oxytocin,
Yep.
um, so prolactin, it makes the milk, oxytocin delivers the milk, right? So, hormones, when you are breastfeeding your baby, you are exchanging hormones and you smell your baby and your body's producing oxytocin. When you have a pump and you're at work and you're pumping, or at school, whatever you're doing, you and that little pump, y'all are not exchanging hormones. You're
No.
not sniffing it and getting all like, ooh, I love my baby. Like it's a pump, right? So I noticed when I pumped and I was away from my baby, I had a harder time getting my milk out.
Hmm.
So my mom was like, go get a blanket that your baby sleeps in. Get a picture, record your baby, and then watch that video. Hear your baby's cooing and things like that. And
Yeah.
I will say, when I compared my milk was better when I had those things with me than when I was just trying to pump, alone. Have you
Hmm.
experienced that for you,
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, definitely. It's good to have something there. I mean, when you're with your baby or they're in the same environment as you can even like I would feel my breast start to fill up, like, oh, she's about to wake up.
Oh,
You just
okay.
like
Baby. Go
it's
ahead.
just this dance that the two of you end up having, that you learn how
Mhm.
to coordinate together, you know. So it's excellent advice to have something with you to be able to just get those juices flowing and being comfortable. One thing, when
Yes.
I went back to work, when I went back to work with my first baby, there was nowhere to pump. So I had to be a little aggressive and like, this is what I need. I need you to make a space for me to pump. Now they had like pumping rooms, but nobody ever used them because breastfeeding wasn't that, popular. So I remember my first day of nursing, the little room that they had me in was like a little like half bath toilet type situation. It was a closet. Like it just had a chair and a little
Mm.
desk right across, and then the light didn't work and I got trapped. So the first day pumping at work, I was in this dark room just with my cell phone light, and the door jammed. It was it was a
No.
lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I ended up having to be vocal at work to make sure that I had a space to be able to pump in. So I moved from the little 2x4 office thingy to now this coat closet, which was bigger and was private. It was a coat closet, but still. And yeah, I had to pump in a storage closet. This is what my sister's on. Hey Janae, she said she had to pump in a storage closet. So I had to
No.
be like, strong on my space. I'll never forget one time I had to pump in a meeting room and this man walked in. Luckily, I was packing up, but he walked
Mhm.
in and he just looked at me. And I'm like, can you leave? And he's looking at me
No.
like, you're not supposed to be in here. Dude, I am pumping. There was just no sensitivity around it. Code HR on me. It was a mess.
Mm.
It was a mess. But, I made noise and I was just like, no, it needs to be a space for people to be able to pump. Don't send me to no toilet. I'm not going in the bathroom. Absolutely not.
No, we don't do that.
No, we don't. Speaking of
No.
that, what experience did you have with breastfeeding in public? Did you get any sort of side eyes or were you nervous about it?
I don't care. I don't care. No, sad eyes. Come and say it to my face because I have some words for you. No, for real, I really don't care. No,
Yeah.
with my first one, I had my oldest and I was 20 years old. So I think I was a little more shy, but I was in the military.
Okay.
And so I had to, this is like 15 years ago. So I had to like stand up for myself because they didn't have a place. They didn't have, now it was all men and just me and another woman. Okay. And so they weren't sensitive towards me being pregnant or breastfeeding. I actually had to print out my rights to show them.
Wow.
So I just want everybody to know who's watching, you have rights. So no, you don't have to be pumping and whatever in no closet or, in a 2x4. No, we have rights. We should have a comfortable space. But I think after that, because I was in the military and I had to deal with them, I think after that, I was like, oh, my other kids, I didn't care. I breastfed wherever. I never even brought a bottle, except for with my kids because I needed it. But everybody else, I just whipped it out.
Yeah, me too. That was it. Church, office, town, store, whatever. If I heard it, that means okay, time. That was the point, right? The convenience is so it's so great. And my daughter never liked cover. I couldn't put it over her head. I had to like jimmy it so that just my boob was covered. But if I put it over, she would rip it right off. If I put it over her head. So,
and when it's old enough and you're in the store and they just want to pull the shirt down, I'm like, hold, you're just holding your baby, and then all of a sudden they just pull it down out of nowhere. Let you go. What are you get some? Just give me a minute.
Just give me a minute. Jesus.
No, that is so crazy. No, but yeah, my babies will rip that blanket off too, and so then, so I was like, okay, we're not doing all that. If anybody has a problem, they have a problem, but I really don't care. So nobody really approached me about it, maybe because I was looking not approachable. But nobody approached me when it came to like when I had to breastfeed my babies, so in public.
That's good.
So, yeah.
What about as they got older? I started to get the questions about teeth, about, past 6 months. Wait a minute. Your baby could talk, but she's still breastfeeding? Yeah.
Yeah. Who used to it wasn't people, it was my family. It was my family saying stuff like, you be walking to you, talking to you, and they too grown. They need to get off your breast. And I'm like, what? I'm like, technically, it's recommended for up to 2 years. And around the world is even longer than that. Like people like the average was like 4, 5, 6 years old. So I was like,
the world average is 7.
7, yes. Yeah. Crazy. But I was like, but I had to, my last, if you look at my last 4, I always got pregnant again when they hit around like 18 months or so, almost 18 or 20 something months. And that was when I didn't breastfeed as much, but I would breastfeed, not like all day, but sometimes if they hurt themselves or it's time to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So I always end up getting pregnant, and I had dysphoric milk ejection reflex. My body, yes. Did you hear what I said? Dysphoric?
Dysphoric? You got to break that down. What does that mean?
Oh, gosh. When all of a sudden, when your baby is on your breast and your milk lets down, you start having certain kind of feelings, unpleasant feelings, like sadness. That's my dog in the background, y'all. Anger, frustration. You can sometimes have violent thoughts, and some people get sick, like they have to throw up. For me, I wasn't sad. I was angry. The moment my baby would latch on and my milk would come down, my hairs would stand up. My skin would start to get irritated. I would get irritated. I would get angry, mad. I would have anxiety, and I will start having violent thoughts. To the point, I was like to my husband, if you do not, like, I need you to, like, you have to take her. You have to take her. And so I never experienced that before. No one has ever told me that is possible. Because the only time you feel it is when you're breastfeeding. That's the only time you feel it. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I felt crazy. I didn't trust myself with her when I was breastfeeding. And so we had to, for the sake of me and her, we had to stop breastfeeding. Wow. And then I found out I was pregnant. But this happens to people. Some people, they find out they're pregnant. Sometimes it happens because even like after, like right after they have their baby, they may have this. And it's due to, they're saying imbalanced hormones and things like that. Yes, I've heard magnesium help, therapy helps, there's medication. But for me, I needed to stop.
Yeah.
But once you stop breastfeeding, you don't get those feelings. So, yeah.
So speaking of stopping, what is your advice for moms who are ready to wean, but their babe is not ready?
So it's funny because I think with my first two, when I was done. I just stopped. You cry. Oh, don't judge me, y'all. Don't judge me. But I can't. I remember I was like 15 minutes. Okay, the next time 10 minutes, 5 minutes. We're done. Like we're done. I'm done. And that's tough. That's tough because your baby's crying and it's tough because it was irritating and I had to step out and my husband would deal with it. Right now, as I got older with my other children, I didn't do it that way. I was more, I would not offer the breast. If they didn't say anything, I wouldn't offer it.
Yeah.
So I was, nope, I'm going to be as quiet and covered up as possible, And then if they want it, I didn't refuse it. I was like, okay. And I just let them lead me to when they were ready. And it was a smoother transition for me to do it with my middle children, Kason and Eris. It was easy. And they stopped a lot quicker than my other ones. I mean, we stopped, but it was like forced stopped. So they tried more to like breastfeed. My other ones are kind of like, I don't need your breast, back up. Like, like, I didn't offer. And then sometimes I would lay next to them and they would just like, move, like, get away from me. I'm asleep. And I was like, oh. And till this day, they're still like that. They're just like, I'm good, lady. Like, my son, he just goes to bed all the time, go to bed, good night. He just gets under the cover and goes to sleep. Like, you don't need to read me a story. You don't need to tell me anything. You said it's time to go sleep, peace. Like, that's how he is. My other kids, they still want me to like cuddle up and tell them stories. So I think it was an easier transition for them and for me because I wasn't stressed out by hearing them cry. So I did both methods, cry it out and one just letting them lead. So
yeah, I did the don't offer, don't refuse method.
Yeah, let lead you.
Yeah. So that was, because there definitely came a point where I was just like, I don't want this anymore. Like, it's like, okay, like this was grand, but please go about your business. But but so I had to, but I found that we both got to that space at about the same time. So when I with that method of don't offer, don't refuse, like we were both like, okay, cool, not today, or like not now. All right. So it worked out definitely then, because my kids are pretty headstrong. You can't really just be like no, and they're like, okay, like there's gonna be some protest.
Yeah, that's how my like too. Little lawyers.
Yeah,
always creating. Yeah, and the other thing I did was sometimes if I want to offer my breast, I'll offer an alternative. So you thirsty, you want this, you want that. So I'll bring like, oh, you want,
Yeah.
you know, juice or your oat milk or whatever you want. Like, here, you have these options. So that helped too.
Yes.
That helped the process. So then they were more interested in other things versus, you know, getting breast milk from me, unless they really needed it or wanted it, whatever. But I didn't refuse it. So you're right. It was it was easier compared to my other kids. They were screaming their heads off, and
So forbidden fruit thing, I guess. What? I can't have it? That means I really want it now.
right, yeah. What is the oldest thing in the book? When you tell someone they can't have it, then they want it, right? So yeah. But so that's the thing I would tell them, to let their baby lead them and then give them like options.
Yeah.
So they don't feel like it's completely taken away from them, and they'll probably be more interested in the options. And y'all, yeah,
that's
y'all will
because that she offered alternatives as well. Yeah,
yes,
so that's for you too.
yeah.
So, are there any products or that you recommend for helping to breastfeed or pump or things like that?
I'm so cheap. You asking the wrong person. I am like the frugal, cheapest person. Because with my first one, I bought everything. And then after that, I was like, I will never do that again. So one thing you'll definitely need, I like the little breast pads that they have, right? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, leaking through your shirt and stuff.
Leakage is real. That is not good. It got sticky. It's
yeah. I'm gonna tell you something. I was trying to be cheap too. So I was like, I'm gonna just cut my pads in half.
Sorry.
And then I was like, I'm gonna cut my pads in half. And then I didn't think it through, because, you know, it's cut in half, so it's gonna leak through. I'm so silly. Okay, but anyway, don't do that. Just buy the pads.
Just buy
pads. The breast pads, they're awesome. And for me, I like the manual breast pump better than the electric, because I didn't like the sensation. And maybe because I like to control how much I'm pulling my breast and my, you know, nipple. Mm-hmm. And it was more convenient for me because sometimes I would pump while breastfeeding.
Okay.
I wouldn't lose the milk that was coming out, right? But now they have the oh my goodness, what is that you put on your breast now to catch the?
I'm not sure what it's called, but it's in like it's a circle, right? And you just put it in your bra, and it just I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, but there's so many things now that you can use to just catch the milk. But that's what I did. And so that's why I'm like, I'm the cheapest person to ask, because I'm the wrong person to ask, because I'm doing the bare minimum. And that's catching the other milk on the other hand, and then store that milk. Because I didn't feel like pumping in between. So I would only pump when I was feeding the baby. Because that was the most, that's when I got the most milk out of it, right? So
I actually didn't have a lot of leakage on the other side when I nursed. And
really?
Yeah, and I love the electric pump. I would take an old bra and cut holes in the nipple part and just stick everything. Apparently you could buy this apparatus, but I just cut holes in the old bra, stuck it through, and I was hands-free, you know, while I pumped. So I like that. The hand pump, I never really had much success with. I don't know if I didn't have the right one, if I wasn't patient enough, but I never really. Pardon?
You say you didn't have success because of with the hand pump.
Yeah. It was never as efficient to me as the electrical pump.
Yeah, and it's complete opposite. With the electrical pump, I barely got milk, maybe because I didn't like the sensation. But the manual pump, I liked it. So this is the perfect example. You have to find what works for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's all, if you're not in the right mind frame, if you're stressed, if you're trying to do too many things at one time, it doesn't work out the way you want it to. Yeah.
Yeah. And don't like the product, like for you, you like the electric, I like the manual. Yeah, find what works for you. Everyone has, their advice, but at the end of the day, you have to find what works for you and your baby. At the end of the
Absolutely.
day, and that's all that matters,
That is
right?
all that matters.
Yeah, these other people, they ain't paying your bills, they ain't wiping your baby's butt, they ain't doing
None
at the
of
end of
that.
the day, it's all about what works for you and your baby and your family. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's the advice I would give. That's the best advice I can give. So yeah.
absolutely. So, what are 5 breastfeeding myths that you would like to challenge?
Um, oh my goodness, you gotta help me out here. But um
One for me is about the teeth.
oh, okay. You do that one. The teeth, go ahead.
Yeah, people think that they're gonna bite you once they
Well, they
get.
do
I mean,
correct it. You correct it,
well,
and then
this is it. Well, that's the thing. They think that like they're always gonna bite you. I mean,
oh
there's
no.
gonna come a point where your baby's gonna be like, I wonder.
That comes before teeth. They bite you even without teeth. They
Exactly. So yeah, you gotta nip it in the bud and correct them. But I liken it to like when you drink out of a straw. You don't use your teeth to drink out of a straw. You're actually sucking. So no one is just. They're not gonna just chomp on your nipple trying to get milk out simply because they have teeth. I mean, of course,
yeah,
as a baby, they're gonna children. They try things. They want to see like what's this cause and effect. So if you nip that in the bud, of course, lovingly, but with discipline. they'll
no,
figure it out.
exactly.
Yeah.
That it's not beneficial after a year.
Oh,
That's a
absolutely.
myth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
breastfeeding past a year is still as great as it is if you were breastfeeding a newborn. The breast milk still changes and still gives your baby everything it needs. And as your baby gets older and before you start to wean off, your body starts to dump even more antibodies into the breast milk. So it's still beneficial for the baby and beneficial for us. It reduces ovarian cancer
Yeah.
as well as cancer and things like that. So it's like all this, like 12 months and done. If a doctor tells you that, I want you to keep breastfeeding, right? It's not beneficial. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that's another myth I want to add.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Um, what is I'm trying to think of another myth as well, but in the meantime, another question is, what's your recommendation for mothers who have blocked ducts or mastitis or infected nipples?
So for blocked ducts, the best thing to do is massage and pump, breastfeed or pump. You got to get it out. You got to move it. You have to get it out. If there's any kind of infection, you need to see your provider.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need, I know all these, I know people are doing home remedies and things like that. But sometimes if like you don't know what you're doing, please just go see your provider and get some help that way. But putting some people like to put warm or cold cloths, whatever works for you and your body, and moving the milk out. Like that's what needs to be done is move the milk out. And that's through pumping. Like some people rather pump because it can hurt sometimes if you're breastfeeding. So they rather pump more than breastfeed. That's fine. Just move the milk
Get
out.
out. Yep. Yep. There will be days I'll wake up, my boobs will be hard as rocks, just engorged. So I'd have to massage and just get it moving and circulating and the joys.
Thank goodness. But yeah, you got to move it out. You have to get it
Yeah.
out.
Did you ever use
Uh,
the cabbage? I've seen telling women to put cabbage leaves on their breast. Hmm.
I've never used that. Um, I've always been able to get the milk out through the baby or pump. And I'm going to say this, even your partner. My partner was the best person to get it out. I was like, get it out. Get
Nice strong drawers. Get it out.
you want me? I'm like, get it out. Get it out. He's like, okay. So I know people don't talk about that, or people try not to talk about that, but that is a thing. If your baby can get it out and pump is not helping, you better, you come like this. Come on and do it. Take it out on this side and then move over on this side. I was like, thank goodness.
We have a question here. Does the mother milk tea really work for this is for increasing your breast milk supply and things like that, right?
Yeah. So, okay, this is what I'm gonna say. Teas, people say teas, foods, and things like that. Certain things work for people that don't work for other people. So you have to find out what works for you. I did drink mother milk tea, and it felt like it worked for me. But then again, my baby was always on my breast anyway, right? I know some people say certain herbs will dry them out, and other people say, no, that really helped increase my breast milk. But the main thing to increase your breast milk is to get your milk out. Like that's the number one.
Man, absolutely. The more you get it out, the more your body's gonna make, the more you're gonna produce, the more you're gonna have. It just is that cycle. You have to keep the cycle going. Absolutely.
Yeah, and stay hydrated and eat foods. Yeah. Because that's going to help your body do what it needs to do to make the milk. But getting it out is what is going to help. Because I know if you look there, if you go to like Target, Walmart, and you go to like the baby section, there are so many things you could buy to help, increase your milk. But at the end of the day, it's all about how much milk you're taking out of the body.
Exactly.
Because if you're taking as much out, your body's going to be like, oh, then we don't need to produce.
Yeah.
So mother tea, let me answer that question. Mother tea may work for some people and may not work for other people. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned your partner getting it out. What are other recommendations you have for your partner helping to just be a part of the process and making things easier?
Take care of the kids. Take care of the kids. Cook, clean. If you have to go to work, if you can get some things together before you leave, or get things done the night before that can help her have a smoother, and I'm talking about right after having a baby. If your partner is there, they should be able to do some work to help.
Mm-hmm.
They should. And I do have clients as a doula where, their partner may not think they should, but they should. That person did not make that baby all by themselves. So you should be able to get up and help. She still should be laying down for at least the first week or so. She shouldn't have to get up and cook and clean and have to take care of the baby and take care of all the other kids right after having a baby. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. I don't understand why people are not helping. So number one, let me just add that again. He should, if he wants to help, especially after having like a newborn, fresh and postpartum, help with the kids, help with cooking, help with cleaning, things like that, because that will reduce stress for her. Mm-hmm. And she'll be able to have that time to bond with the baby and establish the milk for the baby without worrying about everything, right?
Yeah.
Bring foods. Make sure, like, hey, you've been drinking some water? Are you hungry? Making sure she eats, making sure she stays hydrated is very important. If the partner can't be there, maybe asking some friends or family to come over and help, to make sure she has everything that she needs. I have people where they're like, well, we don't have friends and family. Well, can you get a doula? And I know people are saying, well, doulas are expensive. Hey, there are doulas out there that will work with your budget. There are doulas out there that will make payment plans where it's not a burden for the family, right? There are also organizations out there that are trying to pay, like even where I'm at right now, they will pay for your family to have a doula. So the service is free for you, but they contract with the doula and the doula gets paid for it, right? So there are ways to get support. But yeah, number one is just making sure that your partner feels good and they're staying hydrated and they're eating. And taking the baby away to birth the baby after she has breastfed, because I'm telling you right now, after breastfeeding, sometimes you feel touched out, especially if you have other kids and every kid is on you, touching you. It's like, can you give me like 10, 30 minutes or something, an hour, something. So yeah, that's the part. 3 days? No, I'm just playing.
So we are actually coming up on an hour. This has been a fantastic discussion. And I've really enjoyed having you on. Is there anything that you would love to leave our audience with today?
You just put me on the spot. I don't know what to say. No, I just want to say that, everybody has their own journey when it comes to like motherhood or parenthood, their pregnancy, their birth, their postpartum. And I know everyone has advice to give and everybody has something to say. And I just want you to know you can always take in what people say, but make your journey your own. And if you hear things about, scary birth stories or postpartum stories, don't take that in as your story. You don't have to accept other people's trauma as your own.
Absolutely.
That's all I want to say.
That's excellent advice. Joy, thank you so much for being on Midday Muse today. I'm very excited to have you and to have this conversation. It's an important topic. And I wish you all the best in your continued journey as a doula and as a birthing coach. Now, you said you were studying student midwife.
Yes.
Okay. So pretty soon you'll be having your own. Can you have a midwifing company? Can you do that? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Yes. I can have. You said, can I be a midwife and have my own company? Is that what you said?
Is there
I can have my practice.
Yes. Yeah, so, there we go. Let's speak that into existence. Your own midwifery practice that dispatches midwives all over the United States. How about that?
Yeah, I claim it. You keep saying that out there.
That's right.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this. I'm so happy. I was like, I get to see your beautiful face. So, yeah, hopefully we can do this again. And thank you for having me.
Yes, we can talk about, you do all things women. So we can have another type of discussion, have you back and talk about some other things to do with the female body. Maybe we can talk about sex, love, orgasms, all of it.
We can talk about our amazing clitoris, y'all.
Yes.
Yeah, we sure. If y'all want that, comment.
Absolutely. We could do that for sure. So thanks everyone for tuning in. If you are in the Atlanta area, I will be doing an open mic at Mangoes at downtown. So, Jessica said, bring the puppet. Oh gosh.
I'm typing right.
So yes, thanks everyone for joining. This has been great. Thank you, Joy. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.